Now, you
Yeah.
talked earlier about having self-awareness. How can men develop a better self-awareness in the dating realm?
Mm.
Whether it's about, being able to read the interaction or the reactions women's having to them, or being able to be self-analytical about maybe some of the things that they're doing that aren't actually helpful.
Mhm. Yeah, I think when it comes to being self-aware, I'm a big proponent that in the moment, just let go. Don't analyze the night as it's happening. Instead, when you go home or the next morning, look back at what happened.
Hmm.
So with my clients, I'll tell them, hey, look, let's say you're going to an event or you're going to a bar with the intention of meeting women and being social. In that moment, don't go back into your head. If
Hmm.
you're having a conversation, just have a conversation. But when you come back, don't go, okay, two things I did well in that conversation, and then two things I could do better in that conversation, because that puts them back into the analytical mind.
Hmm.
When it comes to being social, the state you're in is extremely important. So if you're in this playful state, but then you come back and you go back to the analytical state, next conversation you have, you're going to need to step out of the analytical state again,
Hmm.
rather than if you're just focused on what you're doing, then you can ride that playful state. I'm sure you've had a night where you had one conversation and another conversation, and then 3 hours later, you're like, how did I meet all these people? I don't remember. And we want guys to experience that, but they cannot experience that if they're always reflecting in the moment. So,
Right.
what I recommend is have those experiences when you go out, and then the next morning, really reflect. Okay, what did I do well tonight or
Hmm.
yesterday night? What are two things I could do better for next time? How did I feel during this experience? Having a bigger focus on feeling what they feel, but
Right.
also how did people around me feel, which is a very important question.
Hmm.
And then asking themselves, was I authentic during this time? And if not, in what ways was I not as authentic as I could be? And then the last question we always have is, what am I going to do differently for next time? So
Right.
the focus is always on one thing at a time rather than 20 things to fix on one night. And if it doesn't happen, the world is over.
Right. So they're still being analytical, but it's a very focused analyzation at a very
Yeah.
specific time. It's like when you're in the moment, because I know in the moment it's like we're trying to be very logical, but a lot of the stuff in those moments is more about like following your instincts, your emotions, your intuition. And speaking of
Mhm.
that, like how can men that are analytical strike a balance between using their logic and being analytical and being using more of their intuition when it comes to like dating and relationships?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So I'd say when it comes to who you pick to date, then it's good to be very analytical and not just think with your brain downstairs and actually look at the woman and look at how she's adding to your life. Because
Mm.
I think in that sense, a lot of men don't pick the relationships they get into. They just settle into relationships with women who they kind of like were friends with, and something happened one night and now they're together,
Mhm. Yeah.
although this may not have been what they wanted to be in. So I think the analysis and the logic comes from creating that higher level perspective for your life and looking at, how am I doing in my health? How am I doing in my career? How am I doing with my overall well being? And almost mapping out this ideal version of you. And then a big part of that is your relationships, and specifically your relationships with women. So that when it comes to the present moment, when you're interacting with women,
Mm.
that's when intuition plays a big role. And a big part of the work we do with clients is helping them step out of their head in that
Mm.
present moment and get more into their body. So looking at, what are they tensing up in their body when they're speaking to women? Because
Mm.
usually a thought is accompanied by a feeling in the body, like your chest contracts or your shoulders are like very tight. And as guys get to relax that, then whatever relationship they build it becomes stronger. So it's not that analytical guys don't have a relationship with their intuition.
Right.
It's that they haven't consciously built it, because their profession also relies on logic and analysis. If you speak to someone who's a dancer, like who dances salsa or bachata, if you look at like a basketball player, their intuition can be very strong because what they practice for a long time is that fast twitch muscle of like, hey, I cannot overanalyze shooting this three. I'm open now, and then 0.5 seconds later, I'm not going to be. So I better shoot it. So it's finding that balance by allowing them to build that muscle stronger, and then using the logic to create that higher level picture for who they want to be.
Interesting. That's so true. Because like even like with your examples, it's like there was a point in time when those people had to be analytical about the stuff, but then they eventually got over to where they could like do it with intuition, based on them having the skill set that they built up through years of analyzing this stuff.
Yeah. At the beginning, there's definitely going to be more analysis within the process. I think even then, though, this is something very important. Only analyze situations you're actually in. Like, if you are struggling to approach women, there's no point on you watching a video about how do I juggle 3 girlfriends all at the same time. You're not there yet, bro. You're not there yet. Approach some woman first.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I got a lot of people watch my videos and they'll comment like, oh yeah, but then these girls do this, and that. It's like, have you ever actually been in that situation? Like,
yeah, that's a great question.
I don't talk about threesomes. I've never had one. So why would I bring that to the channel? Like, I don't do that kind of thing, but to act like I did, or that I know all about it, it's like, what are we talking about?
Yeah, exactly. A lot of the time, like, guys in the comments are like, hey, Ege, can you make a video about this? I'm like, how does this relate to your personal life? And they're like, it doesn't. I just think it would be cool. But then that's not very helpful. So when we can reduce our analysis into just what's going on in our lives, then there's actually not much to analyze. Like, if every guy listening to the podcast looks at, okay, what is the one problem I have right now? Is it I'm not speaking to enough women? Okay, watch a video about that. You watch 1 or 2 videos, found someone you resonate with. Okay, now go out and approach. Don't watch a video on how to have a conversation. Don't watch a video on how to go on a date. Don't watch a video on how to get into a relationship if you're not there yet.
You's a bad boy, but you can't stop, won't stop. You a high earning, high value, high class man. You a high earning, high value, high class man. You a high earning, high value, high class man. You a high class man. You a high class man. You a high earning, high value, high